Got it. All right, well, we'll get going. My name is David Gray. I work for Lamps Plus out of California. I am their ALA trainer, the American Lighting Association, and the account sales manager for Lamps Plus Professionals, which is our trade division. If you're an interior designer, there's no reason for you not to sign up. It's free, and we'd love to help you out. Today, I get to present with Ivy, and we're going to be presenting some information that I would love for everybody to know. Basically, a lighting 101. Just some tips, some good tips that I find that's lacking in the marketplace. There's a lot of designers out there that want to know more about lighting, so I wanted to pick 5 topics that I find to be the most in need, the most knowledge that you can benefit from. What we're going to be discussing today, first, my top 5 lighting design tips. We're going to move into some tips and guidelines that I have collected over the years that I'll be providing to you even after this session. I'm going to cover some trends and top sellers so that you can see what's new and what's out there and what's important. We're going to go through some of the exclusive brands that we carry very quickly, and then we're going to have a question and answer session so that you can ask anything you need to know a little bit more about. Unfortunately, I won't be able to look at the chat very much while I'm talking, but at the end, we'll go back and hit some of the key points that you've asked about. So, top 5 lighting design tips. The very first one is that lighting is about creating contrast. It's not necessarily brightness. One of the things that I do whenever I hold a training meeting here at our offices is I turn on all the lights in the room before we start, before anybody enters the room. Make the room very bright. And about halfway through the training session, I adjust the lights. I dim down certain ones. I give some highlights around the room. I specify some task lighting, and it makes the room much more comfortable. It makes the room much more attractive, and it has some more dynamics in the design. Lighting is not about just making it the brightest possible, because you get glare, and it makes it actually anxious. You get headaches. It can actually interrupt the progress in the room. So how much light do you need when you're camping? It's like one little light can light your way, and you can read. You only need enough light to make the page stand out from dark surroundings. You're really only looking for comfortable contrast. If you move the lantern too close and it's too bright, it becomes uncomfortable glare. So if you create a room with more contrast, it doesn't need to be as bright. Here's a room that you have select surfaces, areas, items you want to stand out, but you don't want to cause glare by having it too much brightness. So you focus light on the work surfaces. You focus light on some dramatic lines or some dramatic sculpture or textures in the room. And then the remaining space still needs a soothing level of illumination to prevent dark areas from having so much contrast that it becomes eye strain. If your eye has to keep adjusting dark to light to dark to light, that causes eye strain, just like it's just working out a muscle. The best way is to provide ample, diverse sources of light all around the room. And you use adjustable controls like remotes and dimmers and switches. And then you have lots of options for what you want to light up, how much, and when you want it to light up. You can have a lot of different scenes that you can create. If you provide a wide range of appropriate options, you're not going to have to get too specific and scientific about what is bright and what isn't bright and what's bright enough. All right? So scientifically, you can go through and you can calculate. 1 lumen is the light output of a candle flame. You can say a foot candle is when 1 lumen strikes a surface. What you're trying to achieve scientifically is that you want normal light to be 6 to 12 foot candles, reading light to be 20 to 50 foot candles, bright direct task light to be 50 to 100 foot candles. Now, mind you, I'm going to provide all this in the notes at the end of the meeting, so you don't have to be taking written notes of everything I'm putting up here on the screen. A commercial office space usually is lit at about 30 to 50 foot candles, okay? But the key here is that you want to keep your task surfaces about 3 times as bright as whatever it is surrounding, and within 10 times as bright as remote surfaces and walls. So if those dark walls in this kitchen, they're going to cause eye strain if your adjoining surfaces are, 100 times as bright. It would just be uncomfortable. And you can do all the math. Here's a fixture. It's 1,200 lumens, 10 by 10 room, 20% of light delivers and 80% is absorbed or reflected. 70% into the room. You divide the foot candles and you use all your formulas and everything, and you just get into obnoxious math. Okay, it's totally obnoxious. It's much easier to just say, here's lots of light. Here's lots of different sources. I'm going to put in control so I can adjust it any way I want it, anytime I want it. You can see this is a gorgeous room, and it could be adjusted in 19 different ways. And there's no math. You don't have to get a whole bunch of scientific numbers into this, all right? But it does matter whether the walls are painted dark or the cabinets are black or the walls are white or the ceilings are dark. It does matter. My second tip has to do with the same type of thing. Too much light in one place is just as bad as not having any light at all. Best example of this is, let's say you have an outdoor porch that you want it to be brighter. So you put in brighter bulbs, okay? Suddenly it's not more comfortable, okay? Your eyes are adjusting for the brightness of those lights. It's becoming glare, okay? You can't see anything. Actually, your pupils dilate, they constrict, and suddenly the walls become darker around the bright lights. The brighter those lights get, the less comfortable the space is, and the less you can see. All the surrounding becomes darker and darker. You can see in this overlit example how much more comfortable it is when you spread the light around, when you add things like path lights and step lights, you add recessed lights up in the cove. You spread out the light so that all areas become comfortable. And if you want more light, you spread it out. You don't just put in brighter bulbs in one fixture. All right? So here's some very bad examples. Dining room has a crystal chandelier. You may have picked the most beautiful chandelier in the world, but the brighter it gets, the uglier the room gets. You can see this living room arc lamp. The brighter that arc lamp gets, the darker all the walls around it get. And so as you have a brighter light source, the room becomes less and less functional. You need to spread out those lights. You need to get them around the room. Look how much better this room looks with lots of different sources of light. Beautiful. There's some drama to the light sources. You can adjust them at your whim. They don't have to be bright. All you need is a reading lamp next to the chair when you want to read, or next to the bed you have reading lights. You only have to turn them on when you need them. You can turn them off if you want to watch TV. Gives you choices. Okay, my third tip. LED is the way to go, but you got to know what you're getting into. It's a very new technology. It's a paradigm-changing technology. We've dealt with artificial light for only about 100 years, and the only change to that is fluorescent light that we added about 50 years ago. And we really didn't have to consider many of the things we have to actually consider today. Let's say you've got a whole bunch of lights. Okay? LED lights are supposed to last a long time. It provides plentiful light. It reduces electricity use by huge. So it's the technology we need to go to. But if you're using LED bulbs, in most cases you're going to be fine. If a bulb goes out or doesn't give the right quantity of light, you just go get a new bulb. Even if there's 3 or 4 bulbs, you're going to be fine. But interior designers, we're going to be designing spaces with lots of lights. Here's a bar with 10 of the identical light, okay? If you're dealing with a retail space, an office space, you might have 20 fixtures or a chandelier with 20 little LED bulbs. There's going to be some new surprises that we haven't dealt with before. If you're dealing with fixtures that have permanently integrated LED panels, you're going to need to understand what you're investing in and be prepared for the idea of obsolescence and disposable fixtures, okay? So, disposable fixtures, what I'm talking about, the same type of thing as cell phones and TVs, okay? Perhaps a year from now, in some choice, you've installed a whole bunch of fixtures in the space, okay? And one bulb goes out. Okay? The replacement LED bulbs that are going to be available 2 years from now may not be the exact same bulbs in brightness, in color rendition than you chose last time. So if you have 20 replacement bulbs, are you going to be willing to swap them out of all the fixtures just because one bulb goes out? Or are you going to be able to find the exact matching bulb? Okay. If it's integrated LED, are you going to be prepared to swap out all of the fixtures? Okay. Or are you going to need to find that exact fixture again or have it repaired? It may not be repairable. Okay. So it's an important consideration. Remember that incandescent and halogen choices are still widely available. All right. If you pick a LED fixture that uses LED bulbs, but they're replaceable, you can easily go with halogen and incandescent and avoid these problems altogether. But it's something that we need to think about when you're installing a room with 100 matching bulbs. You might want to buy extra LED bulbs right now so that you have the extras when one goes out. All right. There's also specific LED fixtures. LED fixtures that don't use replaceable bulbs. These are dramatic pieces. They're wonderful new technologies. Eventually, they're going to fail. This is not the chandelier that you're used to, where you can just hand it down to your children and they repaint it and make it shabby chic. We can't do that anymore with LED-specific integrated fixtures. This is more like plasma TVs and cell phones, where you need to be willing to have the item go obsolete once it's spent its useful life. So just like people who bought iPhone 8s 2 years ago for $1,000, they're going to be buying iPhone 10s this year for $1,000. And the old phone gets tossed. It doesn't get used. Okay, so here's chandeliers that should last 10, 20, 30 years for some people. But some office spaces, they might only last 7 years, 6 years before you have to replace them. Just remember that you bought them because basically this is the replaceable bulb. This is the LED bulb. It saves you the electricity over time. It's the right way to go. But when it's time to replace it, it's not going to be repairable. You just swap it out with something equally as dramatic and new and fun and different. We just need to understand that the time is coming. Okay? Let's say you have an outdoor space. Think about whether or not, if one post light goes out 6 years from now, will you be able to replace just that post light? Or are you going to need to replace 5 post lights so that they all match? If you're not willing to replace all of the fixtures 5 or 10 years down the line, pick something with replaceable bulbs so that you can just replace the bulbs in the fixture, not the entire LED fixture itself. All right. Then we come on to my 4th tip here. Hire an electrician to add the right fixtures, outlets, and controls. This is an easy topic to cover. All of you know electricians, but I find far too many people hesitant to implement the right lighting answer because the solution means you got to cut a hole or run a wire or get another person involved in the project. If somebody's paying for a new chandelier or changing out an entire room, we don't want to get involved with having to swag fixtures rather than installing a new junction box. We need to put plugs where they're needed. We need to put a new switch in so that it can be controlled correctly. There aren't pull chain fixtures anymore for a good reason. The right choice isn't to buy battery-powered stuff because there's no wall outlet, or swag a fixture 10 feet over a table. Install the right fixtures with the right places, the right controls. The reason we no longer have chandeliers with pull chain and nobody makes a good battery-powered table lamp is because there's better options. So get your electrician over early, have them look over the room, tell them where you'd like lights to be, and they can tell you where they can actually go. Right? They can tell you whether or not they can get a plug there or junction box, but get the electrician involved early. Okay, here's one more. Have sufficient lighting budgeted. and plan from the very beginning. Look at all these purchases, and I know everyone in this entire webinar has made purchases like these, where somebody will spend $40,000 on a stove, $3,000 on their favorite chair, $10,000 redoing their shower, and $5,000 on a new TV and beautiful clawfoot tub. And then they'll call the lighting store and balk at the $80 bath bar light. And that is the exact wrong place to be skimping on something that's going to light up your work. It can be so dramatic and beautiful. And if you light it up with the wrong thing, you saw earlier some bad examples where you just replace a chandelier with another chandelier and the room remains just as poorly lit as before. So you really need to make sure that you do not make the mistake of putting in inexpensive lights in a beautiful project. If you have the right budget from the beginning and you've discussed what you're going to be able to do, you can make beautiful rooms, but it's not free. You can't just swap out a chandelier. Add some sconces, add some floor lights and some landscape lighting, add some under counter lighting or some cove lighting. It can really make all the difference in bringing out the drama of your space and making your work look like it should. Don't under budget the lighting. I have some rules that I recommend. Builders usually spend about $1 a square foot, and that's why we have very few examples of great lighting from builders. You spend $2 to $4 per square foot for quality lighting inside and out of a project. If you want to show quality space that they're going to be taking pictures of and using in a webinar, spend $5 to $10 per square foot. And if you want another way to think about it, maybe 1% of the value of a home needs to be invested in the lighting to make it really shine. You can see from these photos just how different a space can look just by investing in the right lighting. I've got lots more design tips and guidelines. So I'm going to supply those in an appendix email that comes after this entire presentation. So I'm not going to go over all these specific things, but just know that you're going to get all these little facts and figures. But there's one I do want to cover because it's so striking and so necessary, but it's hard for me to get the word out in any significant way. So it's great that I've got 164 people listening to this webinar and can properly light a crystal chandelier. Here's something that you can spend practically 10 grand lighting up. People will install this beautiful chandelier and then they'll light it completely wrong. They'll just put light bulbs in it and brighten them up. And the brighter that chandelier gets, the less you can look at it, the less it sparkles because you can't even look in its direction. It's trying to light up the entire room. Bad, bad, bad. Okay, so how do you light a crystal chandelier? The fact of the matter is you dim it right down so it's just barely glowing. So it actually looks like there's candlelight instead of light bulbs. Then we put the light in the ceiling, hiding it with aperture lights that shine down onto the crystals. And that makes it sparkle and shimmer from hidden lights in the ceiling that you don't even notice are there. Okay? We still need light for the table though. So we add some recessed lights that shine down directly onto the surface of the table. This creates a room that's absolutely gorgeous. You would not believe it. It gives you this illusion that the chandelier is perfectly lighting the table. But what's actually lighting the space is the recessed lights. And the shimmer is coming from lights you don't even notice are there. Here's a room that somebody obviously wanted to look very traditional and beautiful, and you can see that you can barely even see what the chandelier is. Can't even notice it. Probably a very expensive chandelier. You want to transition to rooms that are designed so the chandelier sparkles and shimmers, and the light actually comes from different spaces. That's going to create a much more beautiful room. That incorporates all of the things that I've already been talking about, all the design tips. So this is one of the places when you're using crystal, it's really important to get it right. It shouldn't be lighting up the whole room. It should be the showpiece while other lighting is lighting up the room and the tasks and providing the ambient light. Okay, so we've covered 5 lighting tips. Lighting's about creating contrast, not necessarily brightness. Too much light in one place, bad. LED is the way to go. Just recognize it's a technology that's completely different than before. Hire the electrician and have a sufficient budget from the beginning. All right. I just want to quickly cover today's trends and top sellers. Want to make sure that you see some of the new things that are coming out. We've got something we call our lookbook, and there'll be a link to it in the supplemental materials. And we're going to be covering out with this booklet about once every quarter. And it's going to show you things right now, what's popular, a cleaned up industrial, mid-century moderns making a race back to the front. Vintage bulbs are extremely popular. We've got, of course, all the LED innovations. Antique and brushed brass fixtures are making a big resurgence. Glamour and shine, it's always popular. And bold color is certainly, I mean, this year's color of the year was a vibrant purple that's just supposed to represent optimism and hope for the future. Dramatic and daring lines are always fun, and we've got a lot of different products that are showing you how these dramatic and daring lines can be incorporated into fixtures. Here's a couple of examples of clean industrial, also the vintage bulbs incorporated within. Mid-century modern can be incorporated in different things that are LED or vintage bulb oriented as well. The vintage bulbs are making a clear presence in mini pendants and chandeliers. We've got LED innovations that just bring about new shapes we have never seen before whatsoever. And there's a lot of people having a lot of fun showing just exactly how different lighting can be today. But antique and brushed brass is making a resurgence like nobody's seen. Thank goodness we've moved beyond the shiny 80s brass. And we've got some great new fixtures that make use of great lines and, again, the crystal, the vintage bulbs, all incorporated. Then we've got glamour and shine, the chrome, the glass, the sparkle from clear and crystal. Okay. We've also got a Color Plus line that makes use of all that vibrant and bold color. And we've got new lines of floor lamps that represent the daring lines that we're talking about. Just some fun new designs that aren't relying on traditional or just simple transitional just to make a clean break. No, these are new products with new lines that are going to become conversation pieces in the projects that they're incorporated within. And we've got 250 different colors in these Color Plus lines to choose from, so, and then custom shades with 1 million colors. So there's no stopping what you can design with. We've got some top sellers. I just wanted to quickly cover the Bellagio line is an outdoor line that comes in different finishes and different styles and sizes, spectacularly popular with about half the price of what you're going to find from the name brands. We've got a Midtown collection of sconces and bath bars available in 4 different finishes, including the brass, that can incorporate into a mid-century modern or contemporary feel. It can be used out in bathrooms or hallways or office spaces. There's very popular double shade fixtures throughout all of our lines and flush mounts and chandeliers, taking crystal traditional lines and cleaning them up and making them a little bit softer, giving an extra texture to the room, an extra source for some softened color. And then we've got hundreds of ceiling fans in every shape and style that we manufacture ourselves. In most other retailers do not manufacture their own fans. We do. We have hundreds at hundreds of dollars less because all the major brands have price protection. You can't sell them below a certain dollar amount. We're not restricted by that. So our fan lines are spectacularly clean, new LED. They're powerful. They will move air around a room, and then they've got the designs that you're looking for. Beyond that, lamps plus brands, of course, we carry all the huge brands, the Holt Cutter and the Capital Lighting, ET2 and Uttermost, and Crystalrama, Korean company. But we also have 24 of our own brands. And because you're buying direct from the manufacturer, my program, the Lamps Plus Professionals program, you have access to all these at trade pricing. And so it's very important that you get signed up. Free account. We will help you through these tips and tricks that make your projects more beautiful, because we want you to be answering your customers' needs with projects that are going to make you impressive. All the new styles, all the new designs are always available. And furniture, oh my goodness, we've got great furniture, mirrors, custom pillows, you can make up your own lampshades, you can make up your own lamps. Lots of different stuff going on. So just think about our brands when you're considering what to buy. Get us involved early in your projects so we can avoid some of the pitfalls you might make in brightness and bulb choice and fixture choice. We'd love to be involved. It's just Lamps Plus Professionals. Having fun. So if you're looking for our program, it's at the bottom of our website, along with blogs and tips and advice. If you want to go, you can be linked into videos on how to light a small space or a big space or using LED properly. But there's a link down there for Lamps Plus Professionals. Just click on it. Follow us on Pinterest. We'll follow you back. We would love to see pictures of our products used in your projects, and we'll post them to our YouTube or our Twitter and cross promote. We'd love to see how you are making great use of the design. All right. Ask me if you need a forecast book link. I'd be glad to get you out one. Then we've got our next one coming out, I think, next month. So looking forward to that. At that point, I'll take some important questions and answers. Tara, do you have anything that you'd like me to cover? Do we have time? We've got just a few minutes. All right. Well, we only have just like 4 minutes left. So who's got a question? Go ahead, chat. So Sonia, just send an email. My email's there. I'd be glad to get you out one. Chandeliers that are fans, do they work well? Chandeliers and fans don't tend to incorporate into each other well. So we do have some lighting sources that are fans. The fan doesn't move as much air as other fans might. So that's a limitation. So you want to use them in smaller rooms or just when you want this general airflow, but not when you want to feel a breeze. And then you want to have supplemental lighting around the room. So use a chandelier fan when you've got supplemental sconces and lamps and floor lamps and things like that. Someone feels like LED lighting is still too green. The right bulbs are available. We make absolutely sure that we choose bulbs that are rated correctly. And what you're looking for, I've got a full sheet on how to choose bulbs, but what you're looking for is 2700 Kelvin, and you're looking for CRI of 90 or above. And if you find those bulbs in LED, the easiest way to find those bulbs is by requesting one that's called JA8. JA8 is a California standard that's available nationwide, but when you see a JA8 bulb, it's going to be a high-rated bulb exactly to mimic what you're used to in incandescent. All right. Title 24, Ramona, is a California set of restrictions that guide energy efficiency. And yes, if you join the professionals division and ask us about Title 24, it's a complex variety of different restrictions that I wouldn't want to talk about specifically here. Does the 1% budget include can lighting? Yes, can lighting can be very inexpensive. As long as you get it early enough in the project where you're incorporating it into the ceiling construction, can lighting can be extremely inexpensive. So to do it right, you could spend more, and there's a lot of great products out there to make sure that you're getting the right feel and brightness. Sora's new full spectrum LED. Actually, there's quite a few full spectrum LED lights in the growing industry. So in plant growth and indoor greenhouses and stuff like this. So you can find a lot of full spectrum LED. If somebody has a specific line, I'm not fully versed on anyone's specific offerings, but I would look to manufacturers of grow lights to have the right information on what full spectrum lights are available. Flickering, dimmers suggested for LED. Yes. Okay, so this is a trio of technologies. You've got the light bulb itself, you've got the fixture, and then you've got the switch. And that trio has to be compatible with each other before you've got a light that works exactly right. And unfortunately, people have not tested all the different combinations of all the switches, fixtures, and bulbs. There's simply too many millions of combinations for any one manufacturer of a product to test any significant amount of them. So unfortunately, we're still considered in the beginnings of the technology design. And even in 2018, we're going to find products that are uncompatible. Do your best. Buy from a retailer that has good return policies. We do. We'll take it back if it doesn't work for you. But no, there's going to be incompatibility problems for years to come, and we're just going to have to deal with it. Thankfully, there's a couple of manufacturers that have some good products that are mostly universal, and we just have to suggest those as much as possible. All right. Somebody's asking about picture lights. The supplemental materials I'm going to email out are going to talk about how wide to make the picture lights. LED bulbs are fantastic on pictures. They have no ultraviolet light. They will not damage. They have no heat. They last a long time, so LED is a perfect choice for lighting pictures. Blue spectrum light, LED danger to the eyes. No, this is not something we need to worry about. It's a early version of the LED technology that you used for street lighting. And at night, when these specific street lights were lit up, they could bother people that are up late and could bother sleep cycles of drivers. But it's pretty much been eliminated in all choices now that they know about it, and it's just not out there anymore. What are you suggesting for clients with seasonal affective disorder? The full spectrum LED, and it's out there, and the grow lights are all over the place in single bulbs and big lights, and it should not be a problem if you talk to again anybody about full spectrum grow lights. The manufacturers of those are going to have plenty of products that you can use in your home. Can you just put LED into any incandescent older fixture without dimming? Pretty much. Yep. It's basically a replacement bulb. So you can just buy an LED bulb, and especially if it's JA8, you're barely going to notice the difference between what you're used to for an old 60-watt bulb. All right. Well, it's 10:02. I'm going to need to go. I sure appreciate all your questions, and I'd love to answer more of them. My email is in the supplemental materials and on the screen here. So please write down my email. I'd be glad to have one of my agents give you a call back and just talk to you about whatever you need to know more. And of course, I'm going to be available to answer questions as well. The supplemental info I'm going to provide to Ivy, and so Tara will be getting it out to everybody, I hope. And otherwise, you can email me if you don't get it. I'd be glad to send it as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate you attending. Hope we get a chance to do this again. All right. Bye-bye.